Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Very excited today to be unboxing Vindication for you guys. This is published by Orange Nebula and is the result of a recent Kickstarter. Very excited to take a look at what the solo mode is involved within Vindication. It's cool to note the fact that the solo mode was made official as part of the last Kickstarter, which included some variants from the community mixed in, as well as some of the creators' variants in there as well. So I'll find out more about those. But those of you that have already checked this game out know more about that solo mode than I do currently, but I'm still just as excited to see what's been added in, because as you can see from the front of the box, it's a tabletop journey for 2 to 5 players. So you'd think that there'd be nothing here for solo players, but there definitely is. So we're gonna go through the contents of the box, we'll flip it over, read a little bit about it, and then we're gonna dive inside. You are wretched, but this is not the end of your story. After a life spent chasing wealth and excess, your cruelty and corruption have finally caught up with you. That's why you were thrown overboard by your shipmates, left to die in the icy Black Sea. But in this world of surprises, that was not your destiny. Moments before vanishing into the endless darkness, you wash ashore amid the ruins of a remote island where you are revived by a traveler. As you open your eyes to your bizarre new home, you find that something better, something stronger has awakened inside you. Now there is work to be done. You have nothing but the beating of your heart, the breath in your lungs, and a tarnished past pleading to be rewritten. Now soon we will see these components in detail, but quickly on the back of the box it mentions companions, relics, monsters, heroic attributes, of which there are 6, exotic pets, traits, triggering of the game end, controlling map regions, and it also has a nice layout of the game on the back of the box. Now remember, with this being a Kickstarter and all, there's some free expanded content inside this box, so you can see some of those things mentioned here, as well as lists of them down below, and a nice look of how the game appears on the table once it's all set up. So without further ado, let's find out what the components look like up close. So when I opened the box, the very first thing I noticed was the fantastic storage here by Game Trays. We'll take a look at that closer up, but you can see that is going to be an immense part of the organization of this game. There's also some quotes actually on the inside of the box here. Once you take the lid off, it says down here, "Will you let the threads of the past entangle and encumber you on your journey, or will you entwine them together with wisdom for greater strength on the road ahead? The most promising futures are built on humble foundation. The clearest hearts rejoice that life is grander than themselves." The first thing you'll find inside this Kickstarter edition of Vindication is the visual guide rulebook. So we'll go through a number of pages here. I'll show you quickly the rough thickness of this book and tell you how many pages there are in just a moment. We'll flip open to the very first page to give you an idea as to how this book is actually laid out. So we have the game overview here with the premise in the top left. Talks about how the game works in a nutshell, how to use influence and gain attributes, discovering, visiting, and controlling map regions, performing quests, vindicating yourself personally, of course, of your wonderful past. You've got yourself companions, relics, all the things we talked about from the back of the book. There's some masteries here as well. Looks very nicely laid out. Looks like the actual graphic design of the rulebook is very pleasing to the eyes also, and it's not a huge book in terms of the size of pages in here, but the font is the perfect size. You don't have to squint to read it, which is nice. You got your initial setup here. It's going to take you through a number of steps, about 18 or so, in order to get the base or main game set up. Of course, if you're adding variants into this game, of which there are plenty inside this Kickstarter edition, as well as probably the retail version, you're going to have to deal with additional steps for those. But it looks and appears that there's about 18 steps for the generic setup. But you can see it's very well organized with those game trays. If you're familiar with game trays, they make fantastic inserts, and I've been actually very happy with the games that I've received where they have been a part of that particular product, because getting things back out of the box and onto the table has been a lot simpler, plus putting it away is even cleaner. The artwork inside the book is also absolutely gorgeous, as you can see from this page right here. So you will find pages of just full-on artwork, being that this is a visual guide, and it's going to take you through the gameplay, your initial placement, and your journey. So this really is going to be an epic journey you're going to be able to dive into and get lost inside of. Here's a rough idea of how they've laid the rulebook out in terms of the rules. So I'll give you a couple page flips to get an idea of the visual of this, so that you can become accustomed to how this is written in its styling. But if you want to find out more, you're going to have to pick the game up for yourself. In terms of the number of pages, once we go through a few of these, we'll flip right to the back really quick here. Take a look. There's 44 pages in total. Again, the page size of this is quite small compared to the box size. You got your index at the back. And quickly, I'll take a look to see whether there's anything else mentioned. You've got your game components, which are normally in most rulebooks at the beginning, at the back of the box here, so you can double check that you have everything. You've also got talk about the expansions involved with this game. So there's a number of different expansions, as I talked about, that you can actually bring in, like Well of Wishes, Sacred Stones. We've already passed a couple of them. And you've got your Jewel Crafter expansion. Like, there's a lot you can mix and match depending on which ones you like, or what kind of overall journey you really want to have. So this is all considered the expanded content section if you want to explore deeper into the game. And you've got your index here, which is a little more specific for treachery cards, quests, and all that stuff. This is going to be really handy at the beginning when you're learning the game, and actually is comprised of a number of pages. So that pretty much does it for the visual guide and rulebook for Vindication. Now, as I talked about earlier, there's beautiful artwork inside this game, and they have an art and lore of the game world itself to really help you be drawn in even further, which I love, because anything like this really gives you a reason to come back and want to explore the world more. So again, diving further into what we read from the back of the box, which some great pictures there to help get your imagination around what is really going on in this game world. The Tomb of Ancients, the Academy of Ascension. It's going over some of the major landmarks inside the game, along with the accompanying artwork, which is likely on the tiles, but probably not as predominant and as large to really enjoy as it is in this art book. So of course it also has some nice text or flavor text underneath each of them explaining them. You've got your companions section, so you can learn more about the different individuals within the game world, which is another nice touch for those individuals you'll be running into along the way, as well as, of course, the monsters involved in the game. And there is a number of these, and they're actually absolutely beautiful. So again, this can be a really nice guide for painters, for individuals that want to go that extra step with the miniatures in the game. If you want to basically make sure that everything is kind of appearing color-wise the way that it was originally depicted by the creator. So a very, very cool book. And in total, there doesn't appear to be any page count for this book, and definitely was a Kickstarter extra, but a very, very nice extra indeed to really get you immersed in the game world that much more. Next up, we have the Myths and Wonders expansion board here. It's for 2 to 3 players on one side, 4 to 5 on the opposite side. You'll notice that there's nothing here for solo play. So again, which expansions will work or won't work with a solo play, I'll be finding that more out after the unboxing. So we'll move past this particular board for that expansion. Remember, at the back of the rulebook we just went through, there was a number of expansions included inside this game box. So you're going to see bits and pieces from some of the different variants or expansions you can add in. The next thing that's going to stare at you right in the face are the game trays. So this is a massive plus, honestly, for any game that involves organization of lots of tokens and anything really that you need to ensure quick, easy setup as well as quick and easy teardown. These are fantastic. So once I've actually punched everything out, they have specific spots and grooves for everything. It's one of the most awesome things about game trays. So this is going to be really handy to just literally take straight out of the box from its area, which is already perfectly set for it. You just take it out and put it on the table and you're ready to go. So this is just one of the containers inside the box. Then you also have these smaller containers, and my understanding is that each of these smaller containers are for the characters or individuals playing the game, and their character would go in here. So you've got one for each of the playable characters. So there should be, if I go through all of these, 5 of them total, plus the spots to put them back once they're actually full. So we'll go through those 5 relatively quickly and give you a look at the front as well as the back. They have a nice cover on them as well that you can pop off. But again, great storage solution all the way around. Much better than a built-in insert in my opinion, because easier to bring out and put on the table. Next up inside the box, in the very bottom left-hand corner, we have a whole bunch of wooden cubes. In total, there's 177 of them in the box, 21 each of 5 different colors for all the players, and then 12 black cubes as well. Here we have 4 metal endgame trigger tokens, and these are coins, metal coins, and the quality of them is very, very nice. Here we have 5 Metal Guild favor tokens. There's 1 each of 5 different metallic tones. They look awesome and the detail is superb. Here we have the 5 metal player medallions with stands. The stands currently aren't on them, but you can see they slip right onto the bottom of each of them. And again, there's 1 each in all 5 of the metallic tones. Here we have 2 dice. They are absolutely massive. I don't know if you can see the scale based on my hand, but they are huge. Big and chunky, but also very high quality, etched very nicely. The black one here is the monster die. The white one is the attribute die. They have great looking faces on all sides. Here are the 5 stands that would go on those metallic player medallions. Now let's go over some of the plastic miniatures that come inside the box. This one is known as Ronick the Earth Trembler, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the major pieces or miniatures or enemies that you'll be going up against in the solo capacity when playing the game. I could be mistaken, someone in the comments can let me know, but I believe based on what I've read, this is him. This next miniature is known as Sestra, the Lore Keeper, and has a very cool looking base, a triangle. The detail on the miniature itself is very, very nice. I'll give you a look from all sides. You can see the cape there is blowing in the wind, looking pretty good. This right here is a monument. It's from the Clan of the Echoing Blade is what it's called. You can see it's a very cool looking miniature as well. Again, with the cape blowing in the wind for a nice dynamic pose. Really like that. There's detail even underneath the cape, which is quite nice to see that it wasn't just washed over flat. Another monument here called the Order of the Folded Leaf. Very cool looking tree or some type of thing like that. You can see it's kind of looped through on itself. There is a woman sitting right next to it. Kind of looks like the tree wants to just fly away, but it's kept in place by this link, which is pretty awesome. Detail looks really, really good on it all the way around, even the top. Base is nice as well. Some nice detail on that base. So again, painters will like that. This is a pretty dynamic miniature here. This one's called Fellowship of the Light and is another monument within the game. Very, very cool. You definitely won't be missing this one for sure. Looks very, very nice. This is known as the Brotherhood of Twilight Monument. A very cool looking one as well. This individual kind of creeping around the monument on the one side. I'll go ahead and rotate this for you guys so you can see it from all angles. And the last miniature to go over is the Circle of the Unbound Mind. This is also a monument. I'll go ahead and rotate this one. It has a bird there with some books as well as an individual. I'll go ahead and just flip this around so you can see it. Pretty happy overall with the miniatures in the game. Look like they will definitely raise up the immersion level of the game once it's on the game board. The game also comes with a nice bag. All right, we're going to go over the cards inside the game. You can see they're cut very differently than anything you'd expect. I'll go ahead and show you the artwork as well as the abilities on the card. I'm not going to speak to them directly because I haven't played the game just yet, but if you want to pause to read the abilities and or take in the artwork, feel free to do so. We'll go through each of these. There's some gemstones involved. Again, each of these are going to go through different colors of cards, which again are going to correlate to different die cut cards that are mentioned in the rule book. So companions, relics, loot cards, pets, secret quests, all that kind of stuff as you go through. So I'll just show you a number of these. These ones are the Thrown Overboard for Treachery. Looks like they're like journey cards to start off your journey. They're going to change up maybe how the game begins and how you're thrown overboard for the treachery. We got some loot here. So the type of card appears to be right underneath the bottom, which helps things, keep things organized, as well as the color. So we know loot is now kind of a gray color. These are some pretty beautiful, beautiful cards. I really like that they're nice and small too. They're not massive. They're not standard size cards or bigger. They're nice and easy on the hands, but they're bigger than mini cards. So that allows the artwork kind of some room to shine, which is nice. Got some monsters here we'll be dealing with. That's pretty awesome. Very, very, very cool art style. I like it very much. The iconography looks clean and easy to decipher. Doesn't look like it's overburdened with tons of it too, so that's also nice. It's not too busy. We got some pets, because everybody loves having pets. Some pretty interesting ones too. That's pretty awesome. A squirrel. A squirrel for a pet sounds like a great pet. Oh, there's some really cool ones in here. Giant tortoise or turtle. That's crazy. Continuing onwards, we're moving into commanders, it seems. Bounty hunters involved as well. You got mistress, a tracker, golems, champions. So many different characters here. Very, very cool. Again, how your story plays out in this one is really the drive to play this, and kind of what story is going to develop as you go through your journey. That's what I really intrigued me about this game when it was hitting on Kickstarter. So very, very interested to see how this is going to pan out in a solo capacity. The bully, soldier of fortune, tough guy, disciples, inventors, diplomats, all kinds of different individuals. Bards, chanters, the triplets, ambassador. Again, very, very happy with the artwork. It's all uniform, looks really good. Looks like the same artist took over responsibilities for pretty much everything in this game. Doesn't seem to be like it's two different artists or anything like that. Appears to be kind of the same vibe, which I like. And if there is two artists or more in here, they're doing a really good job at kind of blending their talents together. Beautiful stuff. Love it. Can't wait to get this one to the table. I think it's going to look really, really nice. And really hoping that the gameplay also holds up quite as well. Here we go with the last pack of cards. We got secret quests here. Whole bunch of different secret quests. Don't bring your evil here. The power within. Again, you can pause the screen if you actually want to stop and read any of those. Ooh, some nice relics here. Very cool. These are the ones you're going to want to go after. I imagine these are going to have some major impacts on the gameplay. Big time stuff here. Altar knife, mask. Very, very cool. Cursed relics. Ooh, very interesting. Things that likely will harm you. Yes, you're losing honor and things like that. Trait cards. Doing my best here to keep my thumb away from the ability so you guys can read them, but that is quite difficult at times. Just based on the number of cards I got going on in my hand here. Lots and lots of traits. Deception and greed. Endgame triggers here. Almost dropped that one. Balance. Proficiencies. Companions. Supremacy, trigger tokens, swiftness, vindication, the name of the game itself, and all in. These are really nice. I love reference cards. We got an overview of the different map regions here. So alchemy, ancient tomb, the ancient tower, going through all the different ones. Flipping this over to the opposite side, we've got a player's turn, talking about activation, moving and visiting or resting. 3 actions in any order. Bonus actions down below. And we've also got the convert heroic attributes, which is a whole other element of gameplay, a nice reference sheet for each player playing. And that's going to do it in terms of the main game box that came for the Kickstarter. Here's a look at the insert with the miniatures inside, but you'll notice there's slots for everything in terms of compartments. You've got compartments up here, and there's even icons actually engraved into the insert itself. Again, going to that next level with game trays to make things in storage even easier to reference and find specific cards. So all of these cards that we just went through are going to have their own pre-designated spots to lay. Plus, it looks like there's way more than enough space. If you actually had sleeves and wanted to sleeve them, you could, but being that they're die cut, they're probably die cut for a reason, and sleeving them probably isn't the best idea because they probably rest in the trays in a particular way. So that's going to do it for the base game, but there were some other punch boards that were attached to the underside of Vindication when I received it, so I'll show you those quickly. But just before we go to those punch boards, I noticed something actually underneath the insert inside this box, and that is the game board itself. When you take this giant insert out that has even the Vindication engraved on the side, now I can actually flip this around to show you guys the different symbolisms kind of engraved into the insert itself to keep organization really nice. That is worth showing off. And then underneath here, we've got the game board itself. Definitely should open this up on the table and give you guys a look. Here is a look at the hexagonal game board for Vindication. Now, this is a double-sided board, and I'm unfamiliar with what the differences are between the two different sides, so please forgive me for that, but I will show you the opposite side right now as well. So from what I can actually tell between the two sides, it appears that this is actually the side that you would learn Vindication on, being that you have everything really watermarked here in terms of face down blue companions, your knowledge proficiencies, and again, every single one of the attributes are all laid out here with actual words behind them. Plus, there's more of a visual in the center. So maybe when you become more familiar with the game, you flip it over to the opposite side. You also have your score tracker going around the outside of the whole game board. It's a very unique looking game board, very nice looking, but again, I think it might just be a beginner versus advanced thing with the two sides. Individuals that have played it already can let me know in the comments below if that's correct, but that's my first thoughts. Here are the punch boards that I talked about just a little bit ago, the ones that were actually attached underneath, not the insert, but the box itself that was closed when it was delivered. It was all wrapped up, but they were outside the box because Game Trays takes up quite a bit of space inside the box, because the purpose is that these, once they're punched out, will go into the Game Trays inserts, perfectly fitted, and then go back inside the box. So I thought this might be additional Kickstarter content, but this is truly some of the core experience of Vindication right here, and the quality and the thickness of these punch boards is really impressive. They're actually quite thick, and they probably will start dropping on me as soon as I show you, but I'll lift it up to show you the thickness. They're very, very thick and made of a very nice material, much better than most punch boards out there. You can see right here on the top right, we got the player board for all the players. These are called the power boards, essentially. Over here on this side, we also have a number of other tokens that have to do with different characters inside the game, which we'll see later on. They might have to do with guilds, monuments, individuals you're going to find, monsters, wretched, vindicated player tiles, all that kind of stuff are going to be on here. There's conditions. There's also some locations, of course, like Inns, Academy, the Gaping Maw, Ancient Tomb, and Arcane Tower. I'll go ahead and flip this over. Hopefully these things won't pop out, but I got a funny feeling some of them really want to come out of these already. So they're cut really, really nicely. Here's the back of this first token sheet. Moving right along to the next token sheet, we have another one. Again, you'll see this being repeated across all of them. Again, more sites here. These are called building sites. You got temple runes here. Got a bunch of other tokens. I'll need to learn what they mean later on. So this is another fantastic looking set of tokens. Again, the coloring on the actual prints are great, and you can see right there, things want to come out right away. They're cut to release instantly, which is perfect. I really like that. It doesn't do so well for an unboxing video for moving things around, but it's perfect later on with a little effort and also less worry about things ripping when punching stuff out, which is nice. Holy spires are here, the library, forts, and all kinds of different cool stuff. So let's go on to the next punch board. This is probably going to pop out as well. Yeah, one of them wants to go. The player board always seems to want to go. Here's the back of this one. Moving right along to the next punch board. Again, very, very nice. You got some Orange Nebula tokens in here. Got some shrines, command posts, monasteries, jewel crafter. Over here we have a scumbag. It says you, the wretched scumbag. That's hilarious. Player board's up there in the top right. And everything here is wanting to come out right away. So I'm just going to kind of shift this off camera because I think everything's just going to pop out anyway. Another player board. And what's also cool is you notice that the actual outlining and the shading of the player boards are changing color-wise to match the stands we saw earlier, as well as the actual guild symbols or hero symbol, depending on what they call them in this game. So that's easily recognizable across when you're gathering all your tokens. Well of Wishes, Crystal Mines, Sacred Stones, and you got Ronek the Earth Trembler. And I told you guys earlier, this was the one that really tied into the solo variant inside the game, so I'll be finding out more about that later on. And that's going to wrap up the unboxing of Vindication. I really hope this is an informative video giving you an inside look at what you can expect inside the box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.